Hello again. We're recording another lesson. We just recorded one and recording another one now. So hopefully if you're a member, you're listening to both of these lessons here. If you're a member here at Latin. I want to say again, if you're not a member at Latin, if you found this on our YouTube channel, thanks for coming. Appreciate you coming to our page and watching this, and hopefully things are beneficial. I want to say again, once this pandemic is all over, we want you especially to come be with us here in person when we're assembling together again, and hopefully that'll happen sooner rather than later. If you can see the screen behind me here, hopefully you can. If you can, I'll try to describe it to you. So we've got a picture of a dog that has torn a pillow to shreds. I mean, there's stuffing all over the floor in this picture. And the dog is guilty as he can be. I mean, he's caught in the act. And when the owner walked up on this dog, he's playing innocent. I mean, he's just playing innocent. Like, what happened? I don't know what happened to this pillow. We got a guilty dog here playing innocent. I was thinking about that concept, and there are guilty people today. There are sinful people today that play innocent a lot of times. We'll talk about that more as our lesson goes on, but I want to spend some time talking about a story in the Bible of sinful people playing innocent, a sinful nation playing innocent, and that's what we want to talk about. So again, we'll stop here just a minute. Thank you for watching. Hopefully the things that we say are beneficial to you. Let's talk about a sinful people, a sinful nation playing innocent. And I think this, you'll see as we go through this lesson, this may pertain to our country today. In the book of Malachi, if you have your Bible, we'd ask you to open up your Bible to the book of Malachi, to Malachi chapter 1. And we'll start there. We'll take our text mostly from the book of Malachi. We'll reference some other verses, but a sinful people playing innocent will be taken mostly from the book of Malachi. Israel had returned, just to give you a little background of where we're at here. The nation of Israel had returned from Babylonian captivity, and after they returned, Israel became very corrupt. The Lord, through Malachi, offers a series of rebukes to them. Israel responds to each rebuke with a question that played innocent. So God would point something out to them, much like the picture of the dog that we had, pointing out that the pillow was torn apart, and the dog played innocent. God would point out something to Israel, and they'd play innocent. They'd act like, well, I don't know what you're talking about. How could that even be so? And so that's what we want to do. We're just going to go through and look at several points that God made to them and how they played innocent. The first point that we want to make is that God proclaimed His love to Israel. If you notice Malachi chapter 1, verses 1 and 2, it says, "The burden of the word of the Lord to Israel by Malachi, I have loved you, saith the Lord, yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us?" So get the point that's made here. God proclaimed His love to Israel. God, by Malachi, comes to them and says, I have loved you. And Israel responds by saying, how have you loved us? Wherein hast thou loved us? If we go on, read the rest of verse 2 down to verse 5, it says, "Was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith the Lord? Yet I loved Jacob, and I hated Esau, and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of the wickedness, and the people against whom the Lord hath indignation forever. And your eyes shall see, and ye shall say, the Lord will be magnified from the border of Israel." And so, without going into depth about what all God is talking about here, He just listed out some things that He had done to help out Israel. And so Israel had ignored and forgotten God's favor toward them. Do we sometimes forget God's love toward us? Sometimes we forget about His providential care for us, the way He works things out for our best interest. We forget about our prosperity, our freedom, that we are able to make decisions on our own. We're free moral agents. We forget about spiritual blessings. We forget about forgiveness. We forget about the fellowship that we have with our brothers and sisters in Christ. Something that we're learning from this pandemic that's going on right now, that's sort of shaking things up and changed the way we live our lives, it's causing us to focus on what we miss, what we did have, and that we no longer have. And it works that way a lot of times. You don't realize what you've got until it's gone so often in life. But now that we can't do some of the things that we used to be able to do, it's causing us to realize, hey, we really had it good. We really had a good thing, especially here in our country. Now, we're talking about the nation of Israel that was sinful, playing innocent. Think about our country, America, the United States. We believe we lived in a blessed country. We've prospered. We've got freedoms. All the other countries in the world, the majority of them, want to be like America. They want to come here and be a part of this because it's a good thing. But as a country, we have forgotten that we have been blessed by God. We think it's just all because of what I've done. I'm so good. I'm so smart. That's why I've been so prosperous. We've forgotten about our freedom. What a great blessing that is. We've just been spoiled, really. And then, more than that, we used to have a moral country. I'm not going to say a Christian nation, but people used to be moral, have more ethics. More and more people are losing that. And so we have forgotten God in this country. And we sort of play innocent. We act like, oh, how has God loved us? And we don't really know. Of course, John 3, verse 16, Jesus said that God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. Jesus said that God gave the best gift that he could give. He gave his Son, Jesus Christ, who came to this earth, lived a sinless, perfect life, and then offered himself as a sacrifice on the cross for my sins, for your sins, for the sins of the whole world. What a great gift that God gave there. God has proclaimed his love to us. Are we going to play innocent and act like, oh, how has God loved us? Or are we going to realize that great gift? Are we going to realize that great love and take advantage of it? Israel played innocent. They played like they didn't know what God was talking about when he proclaimed his love to them. The second thing that God did in the book of Malachi here, he charges the priests with pollution and profane worship. Okay? So let's read in Malachi 1, verses 6 through 7. God said through Malachi, a son honoreth his father, and a servant his master. If then I be a father, where is mine honor? And if I be a master, where is my fear? Saith the Lord of hosts unto you, O priests, that despise my name. And ye say, wherein have we despised thy name? Ye have offered polluted bread upon mine altar. And ye say, wherein have we polluted thee? In that ye say, the table of the Lord is contemptible. So get what's going on here. God charges them with this pollution of his altar. And they sort of act like, wherein have we despised thy name? How have we polluted thy altar? We just don't know how that could be. If we read on verses 8 through 11 of the book of Malachi chapter 1, God goes on to say, and if ye offer the blind for sacrifice, is it not evil? And if ye offer the lame and sick, is it not evil? Offer it now to thy governor. Will he be pleased with thee, or accept thy person, saith the Lord of hosts? And now I pray you, beseech God, that he will be gracious unto us. This hath been by your means. Will he regard your persons, saith the Lord of hosts? Who is there even among you that would shut the doors for naught? Neither do ye kindle fire on mine altar for naught. I have no pleasure in you, saith the Lord of hosts. Neither will I accept an offering at your hand. For from the rising of the sun even unto the going down of the same, my name shall be great among the Gentiles. And in every place incense shall be offered unto my name, and a pure offering. For my name shall be great among the heathen, saith the Lord of hosts. So, he's talking to them about how they are just taking lightly worshiping God. The priests offered profane worship to him, or pollution to him. They just offered food that wasn't worthy to be offered to God. And then he goes on to tell them, you're offering for sacrifice things that aren't even good. And so in other words, they had to do animal sacrifices. And so instead of offering the best that they had to God, they would take the best calf or the best livestock and offer that to God. That's not what they were doing here. They were offering God their leftovers. They would take old Bessie out here, old broken down cow that's almost done for anyway, can't hardly walk, can't see. And these priests would sit back and say, yeah, I guess I'll make a really big sacrifice here and we'll offer Bessie to God. No. That's not going to work, God says. Notice he said, offer that to your governor. Will he be pleased with thee? Well, of course not. They wouldn't even offer that to their leaders, the people that were in charge of political power that day. But they would offer that to God. And so when God charged them with offering profane worship, their response was, how did we do that? I mean, they just played innocent, didn't they? If we go on verses 12 and 13, it says, "But ye have profaned it, and that ye say, the table of the Lord is polluted, and the fruit thereof, even his meat, is contemptible. Ye said also, Behold, what a weariness is it! And ye have snuffed at it, saith the Lord of hosts. And ye brought that which was torn, and the lame, and the sick. Thus ye brought an offering. Should I accept this of your hand, saith the Lord?" So again, they're just bringing their leftovers. They're bringing the lame and the sick, these animals that aren't worth anything, and offering that to God. But God wants our best. He wants our first fruits to be offered unto him. He wants the best that we have. It should be a sacrifice to offer to God, not just throwing out the trash to God. And that's what they were doing. And so they snuffed, they sneered at what God had to say. Have you known people to sneer at New Testament worship? There's people that do. There's people that want to do it their way. They don't care about what God has said about the thing. I want to do it my way. I think this way is better. And they sort of offer God what they want to offer him, how they want to offer it, when they want to offer it, where they want to offer it. And it's not according, none of that is according to what God said and how he said to do it. Maybe New Testament worship is too dull. What a weariness it is. It's just too dull and too boring. Maybe it's too legalistic. I mean, we're trying to go by book, chapter, and verse here. Man, that's just too strict. I just think that's way too strict. We need to loosen up a little bit and just go with the flow kind of attitude. What a weariness that may be. Do you see how that compares to what Israel was doing here in the book of Malachi? You know, today we can offer vain, profane, pollution type worship to God. In Matthew 15 verses 8 and 9, Jesus was talking and he was quoting from the book of Isaiah. And so he even said, well did Isaiah prophesy of you. Notice here in verse 8, he says, "These people draweth nigh to me with their mouth, and honoreth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. But in vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men." People today are offering profane, unacceptable worship to God, but they're doing it the way that they want to do it. They're offering and doing the doctrines and commandments of men. They're not doing things according to the pattern that God has set forth. And so they're in the same boat as Israel. They're offering pollution and profane worship, but playing innocent about it. The third point I want to make is that God charged Israel with unlawful marriage. God charged Israel with unlawful marriage. If you look at Malachi chapter 2, verses 11 through 16, and I sort of skip through some verses here, but Malachi chapter 2, beginning in verse 11, it says, "Judah hath dealt treacherously, and an abomination is committed in Israel and in Jerusalem. For Judah hath profaned the holiness of the Lord which he loved, and hath married the daughter of a strange god. The Lord will cut off the man that doeth this. Yet ye say, Wherefore? Because the Lord hath been witness between thee and the wife of thy youth, against whom thou hast dealt treacherously. Yet is she thy companion and the wife of thy covenant, and did not he make one? Therefore take heed to your spirit, and let none deal treacherously against the wife of his youth. For the Lord God, the God of Israel, saith that he hateth putting away." If you're reading another version, the King James Version said putting away. Another version may say God hates divorce. So, Israel, they were just getting divorces left and right, and marrying after people who follow these strange gods. And so God tells them, it's not supposed to be like that. You made a covenant when you married the wife of your youth. You can't just put her away and divorce her and go get another one. That's not how it's going to work. God hates divorce. He hates putting away. And notice their response. They said, "Wherefore?" Or, today we may say, "How? I mean, what have we done wrong?" Sinful people playing innocent. Guilty people playing innocent. They had spiritually and literally unlawfully married. They divorced the wives of their youth. That's what Israel did. Now, compare that to our country today. Our divorce rate is mounting. It is growing exponentially. In fact, it's gotten so bad that now people don't even bother getting married, because most of them end in divorce anyway, and so people don't even get married. They just act like they're married without going through the process that they should. But of those that get married, the divorce and remarriage rate is going up and up and up, all-time highs. And yet, people say, "Wherefore?" Some Christians even say, "Wherefore?" God's got a law about that. If you've been married, God hates divorce. Now, Jesus did talk about the one exception in Matthew 19 and verse 9. He said, "And I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, and shall marry another, committeth adultery. And whoso marrieth her which is put away doth commit adultery." There's going to be a lot of people on the day of judgment, I think, that are going to be shocked to know that God doesn't approve of their marriages, multiple marriages, because they didn't do it according to God's plan. Yet they're going to play innocent now. God has spoken on this thing. And so if I come along and I try to say, yeah, but it's okay. No. God has spoken. I can't play innocent with that. And so once we're married, you're supposed to stay married. The one exception that you can get a divorce is if your spouse commit fornication. Today in our country, I think we've got a lot of sinful people that are playing innocent when it comes to unlawful marriages. You know, the fourth thing that God charged Israel with was them wearying him with words. In Malachi 2 verses 17, Malachi there says, "Ye have wearied the Lord with your words, yet ye say, wherein have we wearied him? When ye say, everyone that doeth evil is good in the sight of the Lord, and he delighteth in them, or where is the God of judgment?" And so notice what is being said here. You know, when you first read this, you may say, oh, God's wearied with words. So, you know, if I pray to God, is he just wearied with it? That's not what Malachi is talking about here at all. What Malachi is talking about is God is being wearied with words because people were going about and saying, well, maybe God approves of this thing. And, you know, I've been doing this evil thing. I've been doing this, maybe they won't call it evil, but I've been doing this thing this way. And God hasn't judged me. I mean, I haven't got any judgment brought down upon me. So maybe actually God approves of it. We see that going on all over our world. And there's a bunch of different categories that's happening. Evil is being done and it's being called good. Notice he says, everyone that doeth evil is good in the sight of the Lord. And he delights in them. Where's the God of judgment? You know, God's not telling me it's wrong, so it must be okay. Don't we do that in our country today? People think, well, God hasn't brought judgment down upon me, so he must like this thing. He must like what I'm doing that's wrong. I want you to notice what Peter said in 2 Peter 3, verses 3 and 4, then verse 10. In 2 Peter 3, verse 3, Peter said, knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers, walking after their own lust, and saying, where is the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of creation. See, there's going to be scoffers, and there's scoffers today, unfortunately. People will come along and they say, you're talking about this world's going to end and Jesus is coming back. I haven't seen any sign of anything like that. I just don't believe all that garbage you're telling me that the Bible says the world's going to end and all these type things. Because all things are continuing as they were from the beginning of creation. It's like it's always been. This world's been here a pretty good while now. And things seem to be going along just fine. I just don't know that I can buy that. But notice what Peter said in 2 Peter 3 and verse 10. He says, but the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. Yeah, things are continuing on. The world is still standing, but Peter says, make no mistake about it. The day of the Lord will come. This world will come to an end. And so Israel was wearying God with all these accusations that he's approved of what they're doing. But the day of the Lord will come. All right, the fifth thing we want to talk about is that God charged Israel to return to him. God charged Israel to return to him. Notice in Malachi 3 and verse 7, he says, even from the days of your fathers ye have gone away from mine ordinances, and have not kept them. Return unto me, and I will return unto you, saith the Lord of hosts. But ye said, wherein shall we return? So notice, they had gone away. They hadn't been following God. They hadn't been keeping his ordinances. And God said, you need to return to me so that we can be in a good relationship. And they said, wherein shall we return? You know, I don't think we've done anything wrong. Where do we need to go? That was their question to God. They didn't think that they needed to return anywhere. They thought what they were doing was just fine. They thought they were in a good place. We don't need to do anything different. We don't need to change and go back and look at what God has to say about a matter. Doesn't our country do that today? We think we're in a good place. We've been so blessed. We've been so prosperous. We must be doing good. Since we're so prosperous, it must mean that God is okay with everything that we're doing. And that is just not the case. In Hebrews 2 verses 1 through 3, the Hebrew writer talked about drifting. He said, therefore we ought to give the more earnest heed to the things which we have heard, lest at any time we should let them slip. For if the word spoken by angels was steadfast, and every transgression and disobedience received a just recompense of reward, how shall we escape if we neglect so great salvation, which at the first began to be spoken by the Lord, and was confirmed unto us by them that heard him? The Hebrew writer said, don't slip, don't drift. You need to go back to God. If you're not paying attention to what you're doing, you're going to drift away. So you need to get back in a good standing with God. Our country needs to take heed to that warning. Israel had drifted away from God, and our country has done the same. The last point we want to make is that God charged Israel with robbing him. God charged Israel with robbing him. We used this verse in the previous lesson, but in Malachi chapter 3 and verse 8, Malachi said, will a man rob God? Yet ye have robbed me. But ye say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offerings. And so we've seen this picture kind of going back and forth. Malachi is talking on behalf of God and on behalf of Israel. And so Malachi says, will a man rob God? Yet you've robbed him. You have robbed God, Israel. But you say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offerings. They had withheld their tithes and offerings from God that they were supposed to be given to him. God has blessed them so much, and yet they decided that they were going to kind of keep that for themselves. They didn't want to give back to God what he is due. Today we may rob God of our contribution as well. In 1 Corinthians 16 and verse 2, Paul wrote to the Corinthians and said, upon the first day of the week, let every one of you lay by him in stores. God hath prospered him, that there be no gatherings when I come. Obviously right now we're under weird circumstances where we're not assembling temporarily. But when we get back to normal, when we get back to assembling, God is owed and he is due some things. And we can't rob from God and think that that's going to be okay. Israel did that, and they were rebuked because of it. And so we need the reminder that we may be robbing from God. And if that's the case, we need to make changes in that area. So, sinful people playing innocent. The nation of Israel played innocent in a lot of different areas. When they were pointed out that they were wrong, they were guilty, they were caught in the act, and yet they played innocent. Like that dog that we showed at the beginning that tore that pillow apart. He played innocent. Well, Israel played innocent in a lot of different ways, and I think you'll agree with me that our country has played innocent in a lot of different ways, and now it's all sort of being brought to light by this pandemic. You know, there's a lot of bad things about this pandemic that's happening. One of those bad things is the fact that we're not able to assemble like normal right now, temporarily. That's a bad thing. That's not a good thing. But there's a lot of good things that are happening. There's a lot of good things, and I say that because people are turning their focus back to God more. People are looking for answers more because we thought our economy had all the answers. We were making a lot of money. We were doing good. Well, this virus crippled that. We thought, we had a lot of freedom. We can go anywhere. We can do anything we want to do. Well, this virus has crippled that too. We can't do that anymore. And so what do? We're looking for answers. Well, God is the only person that can provide that answer to us. God's got the answers for all the questions of life. And so we need to quit playing innocent when God points out things that are wrong and line up with what he has told us to do. Are you saying wherein and wherefore like the nation of Israel to God when these things are pointed out to you? Hopefully that's not the case. If you need to obey the gospel, if you need to be restored, if you need to make corrections in your life in any way, do that. And if you need our help in doing that, please reach out to us. Let us know what your need is. Please continue to watch these lessons. Please continue to be praying for our country. Continue reading, studying your Bible, and reach out to one another. Let's help each other get through this time. And let's look forward to the time that we can be back together here again like normal. Hopefully this video has found you well. God bless you.